Have you ever wanted to be God? To have the power to destroy your enemies? To banish them from their ancestral homeland and claim everything for yourself? To conquer not only people, but the forces of nature itself? Then let me introduce you to Patapon 2, a game that is very close to my heart, precisely in my left fifth intercostal space. I've been playing it since I was a child, and I've been a captive ever since. The story of Patapon 2 continues directly from Patapon 1. Right after subjugating the Zigatons, the enemy tribe from the last game, they help us build our boat to continue pursuing our goal, and we compensate them by sparing their life. But what is our goal? Well, that is to lay witness with our singular eyeballs to the bare majesty of it in Earthend, the promised land of the Patapons, containing everything, especially the 72 Pata virgins awaiting our holy warriors. Along the way, the Patapons battle many monsters and get wiped by a typhoon, where they are washed to a mysterious island containing a masked tribe called the Carmens. This is where you come in. You are the almighty Patapon god, loved and worshipped for guiding them with your superior wisdom granted by your extra eyeball. So you sign a contract stating to once more return and deliver the Patapons to glory and to Earthend. That's cool and all s'more, but what are Patapons? Well, they're an ancient and once powerful race of violent, tribalistic, fanatical manlet cyclops, and what's worse is that they're borderline immortal, being able to revive as long as their hat is recovered and buried in the ground. They may be our protagonists, but they are not a force for good in this world. They only care about one thing: reaching Earthend, and they will destroy anyone in their way. Patapon 2 is the product of a drug-fueled threesome between Pikmin, Monster Hunter, and Friday Night Funkin'. You do not control a singular Patapon, but instead you give orders to an army of your own composition. But how do we command this army? Well, I'm glad you ask. Through Donkey Kong bongo drums, corresponding to one of the PSP buttons, the Pata, the Pon, the Chaka, and the Dawn drums, which are actual living things, which we string together in a 4-beat combination, or lyrics, to give commands. Example: to march, you have to go and press square 3 times, then circle, or Pata, 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 Pon. And you have to do this while maintaining a rhythm, so there's no shame in picking easy if you're just as rhythmically literate as I am, since the difficulty does not change anything like health values and whatnot like in normal games, but decides how lenient the timing is. By making it seem harder than it seems, I am, because this is my first time writing script and I'm currently stumbling and grasping in the dark. There are 9 commands in this game, from the aforementioned movement and attack lyrics. There's also the jumping, running away, and a command to start dancing, which cures all ailments better than our medicine can, which is why, canonically, there's no such thing as a crippled or cancer-riddled Patapon. The rhythm is natural and easy to pick up due to the nature of giving orders, which goes like this: you give a command, they perform the action while singing the command back to you, then around the tail end, you give another order, repeating the cycle until the mission's end. The changes in gameplay from Patapon 1 and 2 is so numerous and abundant in quality that you can't actually go back to 1 anymore. From the quality of life to added units and mechanics, it makes the first one look like an early access cash grab for a franchise that doesn't even exist. Additions like the hero and avatar of the Patapon god, the revised combo meter making it easier to reach a fever from lower combos if commands are done perfectly, making combat quicker and more fun, more commands, new bosses, multiplayer, and much more. So, what do you do in this game? Well, you do have a Patapon loop, you do a story, which introduces a concept like hunting missions, a fortress cleansing mission, or a boss hunt map, which you play through, which unlocks that type of mission for you to gather resources from, like meat and fangs from hunting areas, weapons from fortress, and a variety of materials from different bosses in order to get stronger Patapons and then equip them for the upcoming missions. Which seems like a grind fest, but not really. Playing from start to end, you rarely even make the difficulties reach higher than like 10, which seems like a lot, but most of the maps end in not even 5 minutes, especially the farther you get in. Unsurprisingly, the sounds of Patapon is what I would like to describe as orgasmic, from the army singing along to your commands and getting more energetic, the higher the combo, which also has varieties depending on the map, the jujus that empower your armies through united song, the sounds that bosses make when dealing damage to you, which is fittingly devastating. Then we get to the camp. In most games, the base or camp is usually just basically a UI, select missions and move on, but in Patapon, it feels like an actual tribal camp, because you get to see your Patapons dancing and celebrating and taking the most valuable piece of a boss or animal to honor you, from heads to claws to cannons. And in the camp is the mini-games, which are another way to get resources, which also have great sound designs. For example, when you hover to a mini-game, the genius says their name, like Patapon, Ragashapon, Tonkampon, and Suntunpon, and Sukusukupon. And mind you, these are all real Patapon and Patapuka names. All names in this game are brain parasites, since I find myself saying them out loud for no reason. Well, what about the minigames? Well, for simple minigames, they did not have to put so much effort, and yet they did. Do you know how you get wood in this game? Well, you can either hunt a boss for it, or help a tree scratch his head to the tune of a disco, or how about getting elixirs? Well, you tickle an old man machine for his mysterious white fluid. We'll move on now. There are 3 main classes of Patapon, and each one has 2 class memories and their evolution map, making 9 classes in total, so I'll be tackling them in that order. But before that, you can see from the evolution map that your Patapons can change their look, and this isn't just cosmetic changes. The genetic makeup of your Patapon turn them into furries, scalies, and dendrophiles. These are called rarepons, and each one changes the resistances of your Patapon. And these rarepon come in 3 stages, like the Minoki, which turns your army into a jungle. But before you become a forest, you have to be a seed, then a sapling, then its final form, a tree, the natural predator of a drunk driver. But the best thing is that each Patapon can become a different rarepon, not forcing you to make them the same. So even Patapons in the same class can be totally different to fully utilize the equipment that they use. Yaripon, the bread and butter of your army. You can never go wrong with using them at any point, since they're good at everything. Gibapon, the most reliant on the fever for damage, since this allows to charge and stagger their enemies, so if you can't keep a rhythm and aren't playing on easy, stay away for your sake. But if you can do this, you'll get the best early game unit, allowing you to devastate and trample any enemy in front of you, sending them flying back to their mother's Toripon. Same as Yaripon, except due to being malnourished, they ride on pigeons, and there's only 3 of them, as the other 3 died from a seizure during the weight cutting. But in exchange, they can't be hurt by any melee unit unless they get put to sleep, making them fall to the ground. They also throw 3 spears each, which is more than Yaripons, who can only throw 6 with a full squad. Patapon, the most reliable of the melee units, with their shields protecting them. They can outlast even the heat death in the universe itself, allowing you to recreate the arrow scene from 300. Decapons are the worst melee of the four, which isn't saying much since they're still good. It's just that they're outshined by their counterparts. Like, sure, they have great damage, but they attack slow, so you'll do like one massive hit a year, and they have the highest health pool, but somehow the Patapons and their shield will outlast them. So they'll fill the generalist role for when you need both damage and sustainability, but you have no space for both extremes. They also don't have a reliance on fever, and their earthquake move can disable enemies. Robopon, the best class of this game. Though they don't have as much health as Decapon nor damage, which might seem bad, but with the speed of their attack, they can hit more and deal more damage over time. They're also great for making buildings to build memories, and they have a range option by throwing the ground beneath them towards their enemies. I'm gonna be honest with you, I am heavily biased with this class because when I was a kid, I saw them and their name and instantly fell in love. I'm not gonna do anything about it, I'm just warning you.
Wait! I get another shot! He gets another shot!
Yumipon. Same as Patapon, they can recreate the arrow scene from 300, but instead of being the Spartans, you are the Persians, and you're equally as useless. You will then immediately replace them for something else, due to their low damage and arrows that can be affected by weather. Their only use is for hunting, since melee units can give you away. But with Mogyu, you can beef up their damage and make them not as useless. Megapon are bards who fight using horns, instead of shitty Guitar Hero guitars which they use to freeze, sleep, and burn with fever mode. They are the best at using statuses, so I recommend using Uhoho early and going for Mogyuns later. Mahopon, the only class that can actually heal you, and with fever and charges can dish out powerful lightning strikes, ice storms, and explosions, depending on the stick they hold. That's why they're the last class you'll most likely unlock, as they're made from seeds and liquids, further solidifying the idea that Patapons are in fact plants, and that this series is an unofficial prequel to Plants vs. Zombies. There is someone I forgot to mention, and that's the hero, for whom you act as a father of sorts, giving him a name, a place, and a predetermined destiny in life he will have to live up to in fear of your disappointment. Once you have him, you can't remove him from the lineup, and even if you can, why would you? The hero is so strong, he can even make a bland or weak class into an overpowered bioweapon. Remember what I said about Robopon damage? Well, scrap all that, since with the hero he has a thing called Hero Mode. He unleashes an ultimate attack, which is different for each class, and for Robopon, he does this arm twirl that can deal 5 to 6k damage each time, and solo bosses by himself. He can also turn the spears he throws into nuclear BRAP missiles, drowning hordes of enemies in your way in Gamer Girl perfume. Or, if you want your army to be invincible, you can use Patapon, which makes all damage against your army null as long as you can maintain a rhythm, which destroys any form of difficulties in fortresses which are meant to be tests of attrition. But for the love of God, don't use this on bosses, since most of them have insta-kills, which wouldn't be bad, except for the fact that when he's guarding, it lowers his IQ to 1 minus the amount of eyeballs he has, making him ignore any command done perfectly. What? An insta-kill is about to hit and you told me to run? Go fuck yourself, God! I'll lead the attack and finally achieve moksha. This forces you into a choice between killing your combo or killing your best unit, making you lose anyway. Who the fuck came up with this? Thankfully, the next game fixed this by locking the hero modes in specific commands relating to their class. Why couldn't they have done that normally? Why did they wait the next game to add that? Why? But all of the things I've talked about wouldn't mean much without good bosses. And Patapon has good bosses. Simple, but good. From dragons like Vadongas, Dodongia, Majidongia, and Kachidongia. Yes, dragons, not dinosaurs, since they breathe fire, or snow, which is the only requirement for being a dragon in the Patapon world. There are also sandworms, like in Dune, living in burning deserts which inexplicably drop vegetables. Invisible fog spiders that suck off your soldiers. Walking fortresses strapped with every weapon ever made, which you hunt so you can get the precious metals in their catalytic converters, as well as to eat the cannon, since it's a good source of iron. And demons. Just straight up demons, like Garuru, a stronger version of Goruru, the final boss of the first game that is actually two demons, Garuru being the top half and Garl the lower half. These bosses are not just bosses, they're resource points. And you want them to get stronger, since the longer they're alive, the more you can harvest from them. And sometimes you get lucky and get weapon drops from bosses, which makes you stronger, activating an addicting feedback loop of slaughter and salvage. Lastly, the multiplayer, or the Paragate, or Patagate, fortunately can be played with computers, where you and 3 other hero units aim to kill a stronger version of a boss, in order to make an omelet, by serenading to it to gain masks and other heroes, which changes the ending minigames depending on which egg you have to sing to, since some eggs can only listen to pop, rap, or country, while other eggs only listen to YouTuber music. But what are these masks for? Well, they're for your hero, which improves his stats for a certain aspect like speed, stagger, damage, or immunity to getting set on fire, which can help in making the strongest hero you can make. Speaking of heroes, your allies, the Komupons, have their own personalities that can range from romantics, money grubbers, socially inept losers, and a swordsman that doesn't fight, and a warrior that fights too much and jumps into the enemy's attacks, killing him instantly, which can make completing missions a cakewalk or absolute hell. Multiplayer also sets your difficulty to normal, irregardless of what difficulty you pick, so have fun. Patapon 2 is certainly worth your time. It's a unique game from a time long past where developers tried their hardest to cram as much quality content in the game as much as possible, which respects your finite time on this earth, and whether you play it in bursts of a couple of missions or as a full grind, it can accommodate you so it never overstays its welcome. It's weird, fun, and creative, and has nothing like it, or at least unique, until Rodaton finally comes along, which you can bet your ass I'll be playing, since I've monitored that game even before the Kickstarters. So, get Patapon 2 for the PSP or the PS4, but most likely the PSP with an HD texture mod, like I did, since the PS4 Patapon apparently has massive audio and or input lag. Patapon 2 gets my final and objective rating of 10 Carmen Scouts out of 10 of their own buildings burnt to the ground. And remember, more content coming soon.
Rabbit.